Join us today on Oklahoma Gardening as we travel east to Muskogee, home of Honor Heights Park, the Azalea Festival, and the Butterfly Papilion. We take a closer look at Conoy Viburnum and our native dogwoods. Finally, insects are beginning to come out, and we've got some tips on how to collect them. Underwriting assistance for our program is provided by the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Oklahoma Gardening is also a proud partner with Shape Your Future, a program of the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust. Shape Your Future provides resources for Oklahomans to make the healthy choice the easy choice.
I love sharing with you guys the cool things that plants can do. We're back here at the student farm. I want to share with you a tropical plant that you might find in some Oklahoma landscapes. It's important to know which plants we are dealing with so that we can continue to maintain them successfully for years to come. Today I am so excited to be here in Muskogee, Oklahoma at Honor Heights Park, and joining me is Edie McJunkins, who is responsible for getting all the azaleas to bloom this time of year. I mean, it's just phenomenal, and I know I've heard about this place for years. Tell us a little bit about the azaleas and kind of the history of this place.
Well, Honor Heights Park, it started back in 1934, and they just decided to see if the azaleas would grow here in Oklahoma, because azaleas are not ever supposed to touch Oklahoma soil. So we planted it. No azaleas are planted in Oklahoma soil. All the azaleas are on raised beds.
Oh, okay.
And they're planted in mostly shaded areas. And we try to integrate new varieties every year. We have several colors of azaleas, and they come in different shades of pink, different shades of reds, and you have different shades of whites.
Well, they're absolutely beautiful, and I know they're some are a little past already and some are just starting, and that's our weather, right? In Oklahoma,
that's
there's
Oklahoma
one thing
weather.
You can't control, right?
It's the weather.
So tell me a little bit about that season if somebody's wanting to come here. When's kind of that season for azaleas?
The season for azaleas is like right now. It's April 5th? Mm-hmm. And the season for azaleas will be right now because there is no peak.
Okay.
They bloom sporadically. And so this right now is about the best it's gonna get.
Okay.
But you'll always have some color.
So Muskogee is known for their azaleas, and this has been going on. I remember this from when I was a kid, hearing about the Azalea Festival and everything. Tell us a little bit, like, you have people coming from all over for this,
yes,
right?
Yes, they come from all kind of places, as far as, sometimes we've had people come as far as Colorado to come and see. They'll call, and some of them don't care if it's at its peak or not. It's a tradition for them to come down and see the azaleas.
Okay.
And they just make a weekend out of it sometimes.
So since you're in charge of all of these azaleas and blooming and that sort of stuff, what's the secret? You said a lot of them are in raised beds. Are you amending the pH? What are some of the things that you do for maintenance on these azaleas?
We have to amend the pH. If you notice, a lot of them are planted under oak trees, under pine trees. Those trees are acidic, and so it adds to the pH of the soil. We have to add fertilizers at the end of the season. We fertilize in July. Okay. And we have to constantly keep mulch on the beds. We use pine needles. We use pecan hulls. And we have to regulate the water. Okay. Azaleas like to be cool. They don't like to be wet. So we have to regulate the water according to the heat of the sun.
Okay, all right. So you're trying to keep them protected from our Oklahoma sun. You are on the eastern side of Oklahoma, get a little more natural rainfall also, and a little more lower pH in that soil as well. So that's important.
Very important.
So these azaleas, they live a long time for you here. Tell us a little bit about how old some of these beds are.
Azaleas are very slow growers. Mm-hmm. Most of these beds are original, some of the original beds that were built when Honor Heights was established. We have some azaleas that are 30 years old, but they're small because they're very, very slow growers, but they're strong.
Yeah.
and they're shallow rooted.
And one of the things that, I mean, obviously you're the azalea capital here, it seems like. So one of the things, though, I was a little struck by is how many beautiful dogwoods you also have here. You
Wow.
have a numerous amount of dogwoods blooming, and it looks like we just missed the red buds. Tell us a little about the whole season here at Honor Heights Park.
The red buds are usually the ones that first start blooming. They start blooming at probably early this year. They started blooming the first part of March. So they're already spent, they're done. And then in come the dogwoods and the cherry trees. We try to plant every variety of dogwood that there is. You have Cherokee Chief, Cherokee Princess, you have Snow Cloud, and you just have a big variety of them. We try to have them all here in Honor Heights Park.
Well, they're beautiful on display. And so after the dogwoods, there comes some other flowering stuff.
Then after
as well?
the dogwoods, we have the crepe myrtles, we have woodgelia, we plant annual bedding plants, and we just try to keep the color going all season.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. And I'm glad that we hit the azaleas, but there's always something else to be coming here. And
Yes.
really, even at Christmas time, right?
Yes, it is. We have a fabulous garden of lights. Every tree, we try to put lights in every tree. We put lights on every azalea bush. If I can animate it with lights, I do it.
Well, thank you so much, Edie, for sharing this
It's
with
been
us.
a joy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nestled in Honors Heights Park is also this beautiful kind of pocket garden that's gated called the Papilion. And joining me is Robin Aguirre, who is managing this space. And I got to tell you, these tulips are just looking amazing.
They're great.
We hit it at the right time. You got
Yes.
beautiful color combinations. So let's talk a bit about this little garden here.
Okay.
How do you manage this? What's kind of going to be the look of it later on? And
After the tulips are gone, and the master gardeners actually help us plant the tulips. We start with our annual beds, and like I said, the master gardeners help us.
Yeah.
So we come up with basically two different designs for both parts.
okay.
One part is going to be an eco-type garden, where there will be eco-friendly beds, plants, stuff to dye clothing with.
Oh, okay.
So we'll find different plants that you can use to break down and dye material. This side over here will be a color wheel. So basic primary colors will be in this, and then they will fade out to the secondary colors.
So this is going to be the center of
Right.
the
So this is going to be the
okay.
primary color bed, and then like I said, they blend out from there. So
Okay.
the color wheel will spread from there.
That's going to be beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
it already is beautiful. So there's kind of some ongoing interest here.
Right.
All season people can come out and check this out. But you had other stuff other than just these raised beds.
Yes.
I see a beautiful butterfly house across the way also. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we open our butterfly season Mother's Day weekend, which this year is September 11th, and we will run until September 30th. We have 26 different varieties of butterflies. Some are native. There are a couple that are non-native. Monarchs, swallowtails.
Zebra longwings?
Zebra longwings
Okay.
are actually one of the ones that are non-native that we
Okay.
will have.
Okay.
We also have some helicones.
Okay. So a lot
Painted
of
ladies.
flowering plants in
A lot
there,
of flowering
I imagine,
plants.
too.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. A lot of lantana.
And then we also have a children's garden.
Yes.
Which
yes.
looks amazing with tulips as
Yes.
well. But you got some fun things in there for the kids.
Right. We actually have some interactive musical instruments that are like flowers that
Okay.
they can beat on,
Okay.
and they make a different tune. We also have like xylophones
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything. We also have a large monarch that they can climb on or take photos with. The walls, the fences are painted that they can take photos with.
This is just a very colorful garden.
Right,
I love
right.
it. And it's got so much activity going on here. Tell us a little bit, do you do programming here at
We
this
do.
space also?
We do programming. We do field trips. We do camps. We hope to get the kids involved in actually doing our vegetable gardens this year. We also do weddings.
Okay.
birthday parties, different events.
Okay, so is it free to come into this space, or is there an admission for it?
During the butterfly season, we charge a small admission fee. Adults are $3, seniors, students, and children are $2.
Okay, all right.
So
So if somebody wants to come visit, where should they find out more about this?
Muskogee Park's website.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Robin, for sharing this with us. I think it's a fabulous little space, and you've just got so much going on here
Yes.
at Muskogee Honor Heights Park. I would encourage everyone to stop by any time of the year.
We want to say a big thank you to Muskogee for their hospitality and asking the Oklahoma gardening crew to be grand marshals in their recent Azalea Festival parade.
If you're looking for a good structure plant to add into your landscape, you might consider Burkwood Viburnum. Now, this particular selection is actually called Conoy. So the traditional Viburnum X Burkwoodii is going to get much larger. It's going to get 8 to 10 feet tall and about 5 to 7 foot wide. But whereas this is Conoy, it's actually going to stay much shorter. So it's only going to get 4 to 5 feet tall. However, it still will grow pretty wide, up to about 7 feet, 8 feet in width. Now, it is a slow grower, so you don't have to worry about that taking off right away. But you can see here they've used it on the north side of a building on OSU's campus, and it makes a nice foundation planting. So if you're looking for something to add into your landscape to kind of help buffer some hardscape or something like that, or it works well just as a single specimen plant and allowing it to kind of grow and have that natural form. You can see that early in the spring in April, it's going to be covered with these white umbel flowers that actually start out when there's buds. They kind of have kind of a pink tinge to them, but they will definitely open up white. And you can see there's a lot of pollinators on here, so it's a nice pollinator plant early on in the spring as well. So because it blooms so early, you want to make sure if you are trimming it, not to trim it until after it blooms, because otherwise you will be cutting off those flowers. Now, if you don't trim it at all and these get pollinated, then you will see some kind of red drupes that develop later on in the season that will slowly turn to black. They're not necessarily showy, so if you do trim it, you're not missing out on too much. But if you are looking for that, then having a mass of these plants is going to help pollinate those even better. The Conoy Burkwood Viburnum is an introduction that came from the U.S. National Arboretum, actually, and it is hardy from zones 5 to 8. And you'll notice in the cooler climates that the foliage will actually start to turn kind of a maroon color later on in the fall. However, in zones 7 to 8, you'll see that it's a semi-evergreen, so it's actually going to retain some of that foliage. The soil conditions that it really prefers are anywhere from sandy to clay soil. So that kind of covers the gamut here in Oklahoma, so it does really well. And once it is established, it is drought tolerant. Now, being on the north side of this building, it's going to get some sun. So it does like full sun, but can handle part shade as well. So that's a nice addition. So it's pretty amenable to any location, but it's a great easy, low maintenance plants, and really there are no pest problems either. So again, a nice addition. It's kind of known for having these glossy leaves that are also sort of pubescent, meaning you can see that there's kind of this grayish look to them. And that's basically little hairs that are on the leaves and also on the stems. So this again is Conoy Burkwood Viburnum, a nice addition to your landscape. Of course, we love our native red buds, but just as they are beginning to fade, we have the flowering dogwood, which is also a native, to take center stage. So you can see how beautiful it is. It's a nice flowering tree that really helps transition us from spring into those summer months as it starts to bloom at the end of March, early April. And it is a native tree, so it's actually native from southeastern Canada down through eastern US into Mexico. And in fact, here in Oklahoma, we're sort of on the western boundary of where it is native. Now, in regards to the conditions that it can grow in, although it is native and it's hardy from zones 5 to 9, it doesn't really handle urban pollution very well, so sometimes it can be tricky in urban landscapes. You can see we have it planted amongst some of our other trees right as we come into our shade garden here, and that's because it really likes having that protection and that exposure where it's got some sun but also has a little bit of shade protection from those other trees. So you want to make sure to kind of nestle it in because it is a native, an understory tree like our redbud, so it sort of likes that protection a little bit. Now you can see it produces what looks like a beautiful white flower, but these are not actual flowers or petals. These are actually bracts, which is a modified leaf. The actual flower is a cluster right here in the center, and these will eventually get pollinated, and later on in the fall they will turn into a cluster of little red berries, which are a nice fruit for the songbirds actually. So again, it adds to not only the wildlife, and then also later on in the fall when we've got our leaves on there, those green leaves will then transition to kind of a burgundy leaf, again adding to that year-round interest of this tree. I mentioned the bracts here. They come in either white to ranges of pink, so there are a lot of cultivars on the market to give you that specific color of pink that you might be looking for, or the white selection that you might want. They have some that are light pink all the way to a really dark rose-colored pink as well. So this tree is a moderate grower, kind of a slow grower, but it will get to a height of about 20 to almost 40 feet tall. It is either a multi-stem or a single stem tree. You can get both versions of it, but a nice understory tree. Now, as far as where to grow it and the soil conditions, basically it does grow well in clay to sandy soils. However, it does like a lot of organic matter and needs good drainage. Also, it can handle a slightly acidic pH all the way to a neutral pH as well. So when you're looking to add flower power into your landscape, don't forget to include some trees also, like the flowering dogwood.
Good day. Welcome to the Insect Adventure. We're going to do some demonstrations on how to collect insects around your home or in your neighborhood to be able to use for, say, a school project or a 4-H project, or even just if you're a hobbyist and you want to learn how to collect insects around your home. We'll be discussing active ways with nets, and then we'll talk about some passive ways also where the bugs come to you. What we've got here are 3 different kinds of insect nets. This first one is called an aerial net, and it is for running around and chasing butterflies and dragonflies. It's not a good type of net for dragging through the grass to find beetles and spiders and grasshoppers. It's very fragile, but it's also very sneaky. With the dark color, insects don't see it coming. This one is a good old workhorse. This is a sweep net, and the sweep net is used to drag along the ground and frighten insects that are in the grass into jumping up, and then you sweep them into your net and then transfer them to be able to freeze them later. And then if you do have an aquatic situation, this is an aquatic insect net. Has a flat bottom and then this nice curved top. It's called a D net because of the shape. And you drag it through the bottom of a stream bed or a pond like you would a sweep net, and the insects are caught as the water streams out. There are also several passive ways to let the insects come to you to collect them. Things you can put out around your home and collect bugs without actually having to do the work. First one is, these are called pan traps. And you'll notice that they're just basically plastic bowls, but they come in lots of different colors. And you want to use as many different colors of plastic bowls as you can find, because each different type of insect is attracted to a different color. With a pan trap, you're going to take the bowl, you're going to fill it up about halfway with water, put a couple of drops of soap to break the surface tension, and then set these out in a sunny place. It'll attract bees and butterflies and beetles that are flying, and then they're drawn in by that color thinking it's a flower. This is a great old standby. This is a pitfall trap. And what you need for a pitfall trap are 2 cups that are fairly deep. This is about 5 to 6 inches deep. You need 2 as a set, a lid to go over them, and then you need something to dig a hole in the ground. When you have your hole dug, you're going to put the plastic cups in the hole right up to the very top. What this is going to do is allow insects and spiders that are walking around to be interested in the cup, but they fall in and can't get back out. Just like on the pan trap, you want to fill it about halfway full with just plain water and a couple of drops of dish soap to break that surface tension. The great thing about these is you don't have to ruin your hole to check your bugs. You can separate them using this to take your insects away and leaving this other in the ground. Once you've collected the insects out of your pan trap or with your net, you're going to wish to freeze them so that you can keep them preserved until you're ready to take them out again and start pinning. So you put your insects in a Ziploc baggie. Be sure and write the date that you collected those insects and the location where you selected those insects and what kind of method you used to collect those insects. Get that baggie into the freezer. About a week is plenty of time, but you're okay leaving your dead insects that you're going to pin in the freezer for up to about 6 months, and then they're like meat. They become freezer burned and you can't really work with them. So go ahead, grab a baggie, go outside and see what you've got in your backyard to make a collection.
There are a lot of great horticulture activities this time of year. Be sure and consider some of these events in the weeks ahead. Take a break from your garden and join us right back here next week for another great episode of Oklahoma Gardening.
Good. Do it hard. Yeah, that's good.
To find out more information about show topics as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure to visit our website at oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. Join in on Facebook and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. Tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater gem. We would like to thank our generous underwriters, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, and Shape Your Future, a program of the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust. Additional support is also provided by Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, the Oklahoma Horticulture Society, the Tulsa Garden Club, and the Tulsa Garden Center.